when observing the sun and moon coursing through the sky, that both appear as similar-sized orbs, tracing similarly related 24-hour paths overhead at similar speeds? Is this simply just coincidence? Well, modern astronomy would say, absolutely, no question about it. Despite the sun and moon appearing to be the same size, the sun is in fact 400 times larger and 400 times farther away. The sun is in fact the orbital center, with the very Earth we're standing on spinning around it. Now, during a solar eclipse, it is claimed that the moon is passing between the observer and the sun, thus blocking the light of the sun temporarily from the view of the observer. Okay, then what about lunar eclipses? Well, according to the authorities, as we've all been fed, lunar eclipses occur when the ball Earth moves between the sun and the moon, and we see the resulting shadow. But over 50 times in the last 500 years, none other than the Royal Astronomical Society of Britain has noted lunar eclipses which occurred when both the sun and moon were visible in the sky. Not to mention several of those times when the alleged ball Earth shadow has been seen on the wrong side of the lunar disk.
December 10th, about 6:30 in the morning. It's about 18 degrees out here, and we're standing on top of Cahokia Mounds, just east of St. Louis. Behind me is a full moon, which will soon be going into a full lunar eclipse as it sets, kind of a rare experience, while at the same time behind us, the sun is already beginning to rise. So this could be a very interesting and beautiful experience. So it's about 6:55, and as you can see, we're getting a little bit brighter out here. You can see the shadow creeping across the moon. It's a little hard to see, I'm sure, in the camera, but from here, you can see it nice and clearly. It's about a third of the way covered. The moon's starting to turn nice and orange. On the right shoulder, you can see downtown St. Louis and the nice early morning sun, which is getting very bright on the eastern horizon behind us. Yeah, we get that in there again. See, it's practically day here, yet we still have the moon out, which is slowly eclipsing, and it's still cold. Okay, so it's now about 7:04 a.m. and over my shoulder you probably cannot see anything, but through the stacks of the refinery back there, we can just barely make out a little bit of the moon left. It's about 2/3 the way covered with Earth shadow, and it's turning a sort of pale orange, pinkish color. But with the bright morning sun coming up, there's not enough contrast to be able to see the moon there. We can still see it just a little bit. What I find very interesting is I was expecting the shadow to come upward across the moon as it would go down and it would pass into shadow, and actually it's going the other way around. The shadow, as the moon is here, the shadow is creeping down across the moon.
How is it possible that during a total lunar eclipse, the shadow starts off completely black as it creeps up on the moon, but when it fully covers the moon exhibits that signature reddish glow? My own research has led me to see that the authorities know about and are hiding information regarding a black sun. On the ball Earth, there's no real up or down. It's all relative to the center, and this is possible thanks to gravity. Now, naturally, a spinning object tends to keep other objects from sticking to it due to centrifugal force, normally causing the objects to fly right off. But on the ball Earth, thanks to gravity, of course, people, buildings, and even the very air are all stuck to the surface of the ball, and would be none the wiser had it not been for authorities such as Galileo, Newton, and NASA to tell us otherwise. Thusly, considering gravity, if objects with mass are attracted towards each other, why hasn't there ever been an object massive enough to demonstrate that water would stick to it, as is claimed the oceans, lakes, and rivers do on a ball Earth? And if the excuse is then given that the Earth's gravity would far supersede that of any other object, then how is it that the Moon is said to affect water levels at sea level on Earth? Further, how is the combined mass of a helium-filled balloon repelled by the mass of the Earth? Or, what up there is attracting the balloon to itself? Or are these really just the laws of density and buoyancy, with up and down actually existing as we perceive? Obviously, dense objects sink when placed in a less dense medium, and this law of density-buoyancy perfectly explained the physics of falling objects long before Isaac Newton proposed his theory of gravity. But Isaac Newton was a knight of the British Order, and I personally find it strange that he was allegedly born on Christmas Day and died on the vernal equinox. And why did his coat of arms have 2 crossed bones on a black shield? Was he indeed a Freemason or Rosicrucian? I also question Galileo and his supposed experiments dropping his balls from the Leaning Tower of Pisa. While Giordano Bruno and other contemporaries of Galileo were burned at the stake after being publicly tortured, Galileo was merely placed under supposed house arrest, while his associations with the Jesuits have long been acknowledged. So investigate the subject for yourself.
Newton said that if an object falls, it's because there's a mysterious force called gravity pulling it down. But you know, Isaac Newton himself was not satisfied by that. Objects move because they're pushed, not pulled. So what is pushing this? Newton didn't know. So Newton simply threw his hands up and said, I don't know. So I'm going to invent something called gravity.